From the slopes of the Great Dividing Range, the Jumeric River meanders west, forming part of the Queensland-New South Wales border. Unlike many of this nation's rivers, the Jumeric is in pretty good nick, sustaining whole communities, ecosystems and industries along its banks.
It's beautiful to look at and be around, and it's really the heart and soul of the district.
Well, it's very important to all the irrigators, and not only the irrigators, the cattle people and the sheep people along the river. It's very, very important. Can't imagine life without the Jumeric River.
But there's a clear and present threat to the Jumeric. This year, the company that owned the nearby Texas silver mine went into liquidation, and the land was handed back to the state government. Left behind are 4 large storage ponds full of contaminated water. The front gate is now locked, and these signs hint at the mine's toxic legacy. The Environment Department has told the ABC that among the heavy metals found in water in ponds here at the mine are copper, iron, manganese, nickel and zinc. The department describes the level of these metals as elevated. In other words, high. 730 has obtained a government document that outlines the threat. It makes for grim reading.
It is estimated that as little as 40 millimetres of rain may cause a discharge from site. Discharge water from the site would flow about 7 kilometres through small drainage lines to the Jumeric River.
It is completely unacceptable that a mine was allowed to go ahead with no contingency plan for actually containing toxic compounds on site. 40 millimetres of rain is a very small amount of water that could potentially cause a serious leak of toxic chemicals into the local waterways.
Well, that's frightening because that's only a storm. That's one storm could cause that. Looking like this afternoon it could happen today.
Come here. Here, come here.
Ron Morris's sheep property is 8 kilometres downstream from the mine. He supported the mine when it first came because it brought jobs and economic activity. Now he worries it'll bring environmental disaster.
I think everybody's a bit worried about what happens up there now. What happens with all the ponds and everything they've left up there? You know, who manages that? This is what we'd like to know. We get a big storm and it overflows into the Jumeric River. There'll be a hell of a mess.
Tim Ramsey's cattle and cropping property straddles the Jumeric River at Bonshaw, upstream from the mine. Tim and his wife Michelle also saw the benefits of the mine.
We noticed a lot of new families moving to town and people that live here getting more training and skills, more people in the footy club, more volunteers at the kindy. It's a really positive thing when you have that extra level of economic activity.
But the new families are now gone, and so too are the economic benefits from the mine, all replaced by 4 ponds full of heavy metals and acid water. As irrigators, the Ramseys know just how valuable this river is to people who live and work along its course.
You know, if it was to affect the wildlife in the river or the quality of the produce that we produce or just the whole ecosystem in general, it would be catastrophic.
The afternoon of our filming, a storm rolls in, dumping a few millimetres over the mine before drifting north. It could be a taste of things to come, with the summer storm season just weeks away. The bitter irony that the drought could be the only thing preventing a spill from the mine isn't lost on some.
All the creeks up in that hill up there, they all head to the river. Every one of them head to the river. So if any of those overflow, they'll flow into the creeks and into the creek straight into the river, into the Jumeric River.
That's not the only headache for the Queensland government. While the state can use a $2 million bond from the mining company to try to secure and clean up the site, the internal government document warns that rehabilitation could cost up to $10 million.
It is completely unacceptable that governments have been allowing mining companies to go in, turn a profit, and then potentially cut and run and leave the local community with a toxic legacy and the taxpayers left with the bill to clean it up.
The Queensland Environment Department recently sent experts out to Texas to inspect the site and to help devise a plan to shore up the ponds and to stop any spills. But the wet season is fast approaching, and if the worst does happen, the consequences could flow much further downstream.
Well, the whole problem with it is it flows into the Jemeric, but it doesn't stop there. It's going to flow into the McIntyre, and all them big irrigators down around Gudnawindi, you know, it's just going to go on. So it's not only just going to be stop here in Texas if those ponds overflow. I think it's a massive problem, and you know, and I'd like to see somebody put their hand up and say, well, we've got to do something about it.